The hits just keep coming for podcaster Newsom as he kind of declares he's going to run for president in 2028. Well, his state, wildfires, riots, and now California economy falters with high unemployment, highest in the United States, and job losses. We got a mini-recession coming in California. What's that look like? Let's get into it. Here we go. California's economy, traditionally hailed for outpacing the United States as a whole, has considerably weakened, with key sectors either falling stagnant or contracting, and the unemployment rate remaining elevated. It's high. That's not good. According to a UCLA forecast released Wednesday, key California economic sectors such as manufacturing, entertainment, and logistics have been faltering, leading to the state's economy growing at only half the rate of the nation. UCLA Anderson forecast director Jerry Nicholsberg wrote in his report on the state's economy, over the last 4 months of the year, the state lost 50,000 payroll jobs. That's one thing that kind of caught my eye. You could say, in the next 4 months, Sean, they're going to get 100,000 jobs in there. All right, maybe. But how about those ICE raids? How about those ICE raids in LA? How's that? Tasty. Getting the bad man out, right? Some people are saying, but they're just scooping in and taking this guy who's been working his taco stand forever. There's just no accountability. There's no recourse. There's no planned way that we're handling these things. It's like, did you disclose to everybody when a raid was happening when Obama was in charge? No, that's just not how this goes. But now all of a sudden, ICE raids are just it's the big boogeyman, right? And this has been going on forever, except when we had Sleepy Joe in office. He just didn't do any of that, right? Minimal. Moreover, the growth areas of the past year, healthcare, education, and government, have likely hit their peak. Government hiring has hit its peak? Interesting. Therefore, the data now indicates slow to negative economic growth. Don't you love the term negative economic growth? Negative economic growth. Economy growing. Oh, it's not. It's decreasing, but it's growth that's negative. Right? When you read this stuff, you go, okay, whatever. And a further decline in jobs for 2025. Okay, all right. Negative economic growth and a further decline in jobs for 2025. What do you end up with there? Hey, you got a state that's slowing down. And why is that important? Because all eyes are on California, and they're going to be for a while. You got Karen Bass in there. You got Gruesome Newsome. You got podcaster Newsom. And they had this discussion briefly, the man in blue. Karen Bass is probably the worst mayor, one of the worst mayors out there. And between Gavin Newsom and Karen Bass, they are definitely top of the heap at just bumbling their jobs. Their response to the wildfires and the riots alone, you're like, what are you doing there? What's going on here? And then you throw in, Gavin Newsom on the whole response to COVID. Lock everybody down except me. I'm going to be just eating away without a mask in a restaurant. How'd that work? Nicholsberg wrote that the state is anticipated to experience a mild economic contraction for the balance of the year. All of this stuff is piling on as Gruesome Newsome ramps up his political aspirations to become president in 2028. And he's got homelessness to overcome. He's got high unemployment we're seeing here, lack of job growth, negative economic growth. So, according to the report, the state's unemployment rate has remained above 5% for the 18 months that ended in April, when the rate was 1.1 percentage points higher than the nation as a whole. California's been running higher than the nation on average for quite a while. And what you'll hear Newsom point to is that we've got an economy that's fourth largest in the United States. Yep. Okay. You got a lot of people in California too. Don't know if you knew that. You got a lot of people in Texas. You got a lot of people. When people point to, well, Sean, there's a lot of homeless people in Texas. There's a lot of homeless people in Florida. There is, but look at the overall populations of those states as well. And look at the population of California. California with a third to, probably more than that of the entire United States homeless population. That's why San Jose right now is going to do a multi-month sweep of a massive encampment. And they're going because Gruesome Newsome from the top down is saying, hey, we got to clean up the optics on the state of California. Otherwise, I am never getting elected. And he's right. We'll just have to see what the race to the bottom looks like. Decreases in employment in the entertainment industry and reductions in the technology and manufacturing sectors have played a large role in the problem. The first 3 months of 2025, the number of payroll jobs in the state declined. There's a small gain of 17,000 jobs in April. That's like margin of error, right? Leaving a deficit of approximately 50,000 jobs for the year. This is the background upon which deportations of some of California's workforce will happen. You've already got a situation where the economy is slowing down. Now it's definitely going to slow down if ICE keeps doing its job, deporting those who aren't here legally. Trump administration's commitment to mass deportations is expected to have continued impacts in the state, along with cuts in federal health care funding. All right. That's what happens. And when you run your state, like a social welfare program, which is how California is run, things aren't necessarily going to be looking on the up and up all the time. You're going to have periods of downtime. And right now you've got downtime in California. Nicholsburg predicted a recovery for the state economy will begin next year with economic growth picking up more steam in 2027. But for this year, the unemployment rate could peak at over 6%, 6.1%, while averaging 5.8 for the year, following average rates of 5.6 and 4.4 in the next 2 years. All right. So what that means is consistently, California is going to have higher unemployment than the rest of the United States. Here's a quick video. This is something that we've covered a lot here on News for Reasonable People. I'm just going to play it right here. Hear what Trump has to say.
It no longer goes into the cities. It stops miles outside of the cities. Because if you had trained a railroad going from San Francisco to L.A., I think it's 100 times over budget.
It's not.
Competent things. That's Newsom.
Agree with that.
I think we're not going to. In fact, a little bit of a story. We're not going to find that anymore out of control. First of all,
the federal government is lined up. Trump is basically stating, we've been hearing this. He said this morning, that they're not going to fund the high-speed train to nowhere. The boondoggle of the high-speed train to nowhere that hasn't been built, that is billions and billions of dollars over budget, was supposed to be completed in 2020, hasn't had a single lane of track completed. Not one. And they're working on this other, this city to city that isn't LA to San Francisco, but it's because that's what they can build. So that's what Trump's talking about here. Yeah, we're not funding that. It's like $4 billion of federal funding that Gruesome Newsome, podcaster Newsom, this is, did he start it? No, this was started well before his term started, but he's going to end up with it on his hands, on his books, as his term in office, governorship, ends.
It doesn't go where it's supposed to. It's supposed to go from L.A. to San Francisco. Now, because they don't have any money, they've spent, 30, 40 times more than it was supposed to spend. And they made it much shorter because it no longer goes into the cities. It stops miles outside of the cities. Because if you had trained.
Okay. Some of what he's saying there, he's cherry picking facts. The overall of it hasn't been shortened. It's still going to do San Francisco to LA, but they're trying to piecemeal some shorter segments so they can get something finished. That's my interpretation of what they're doing. And is it 100 times over cost? No, it's not. It's maybe 10. It's like 10, reasonably, I believe. But whatever it is, it's a boondoggle and it's not going anywhere. So, Gruesome Newsome's going to have to face that as well. President Trump says he's pulling federal funding from active California high-speed rail project that goes nowhere. Yep, that's what he's doing. Here's another story. This one just came out. Gavin Newsom finally admits he's contemplating a run for president. I mean, we've all known it, right? We've all known this for quite a while, but he's always kind of coy about his political aspirations. Because I think he was hoping that he'd get the nod instead of Kamala. I really do. But then California, Democrats would have had to address the issue of, you're going to put a white male over a black female-ish. We can't have that. We can't have those optics because it would just look terrible. The optics on that would look horrific. So Newsom had to just grit his teeth and go, okay. Oh, God, yeah. Oh. He did that when he didn't get the call. He was super quiet after, because he was saying during the election, he was saying, why would I support anybody else? Our president is so competent. It just went down that crazy train of, Joe Biden is, not losing his cognitive ability to think, even though the rest of the country is like, what in the F is going on here? This guy can barely get off the stage. He doesn't know where he is. Poor guy. He just had dementia. Dementia. After 6.5 years of denying any interest in running for president, Gavin Newsom finally fessed up. A flurry of news media is keyed to anti-Donald Trump demonstrations in LA and elsewhere. Newsom has acknowledged what everyone in and around national politics had already assumed, that he's entertaining a White House bid. Meanwhile, in Los Angeles mob breaks into and loots AutoZone store. Have you seen that one? I'm not going to show any footage because I keep getting flagged for violent footage. And it's not working out all that well. What happens is the powers that be say, I don't have any advertisers for this kind of video. It's too violent. So then we don't make any money, and it's just this wah kind of deal, right? So if we don't show that footage, we seem to be okay. Is it self-censoring? Absolutely. Should we be able to show that? Yes, because it's news when a mob breaks into and loots an AutoZone store. But this is some of the stuff that California is dealing with. A bunch of looters after mostly peaceful riots. Yeah, looters smashed their way into an AutoZone store in South Los Angeles on Monday. The same location was hit twice before. The incident... Yeah, here's that video if you wanted to see it. I mean, it's not an advertisement for AutoZone. You know what I mean? Just, California provided $73.6 million to anti-deportation groups, including protesters. I'm going to cover that one in full. But this is that Churla group. That millions and millions and millions of dollars. So there's all of this just crazy stuff going on in California. And if Gruesome Newsome, if he honestly thinks that he's got the ability to be elected, he's going to have to overcome all of these, what I call buyer objections. And what they are is people looking in from the outside, looking at California going, well, Gavin Newsom has run California for 12 years? And look at the shape that it's in. It's going into a recession. Most homelessness in the United States. Highest rate of unemployment. You've got the response to the wildfires. You've got the response to COVID. You've got the response to the riots, multiple sets of riots. Cost of living, housing costs, all of these things are buyer objections as to why they should buy Gruesome Newsome, podcaster Newsom. I don't think there's any way that he can overcome these. If Newsom was a piece of real estate, we would call him a diamond in the rough with possible future potential, with extensive renovation and ground up rebuild. That's how we would market Gruesome Newsome, because what you've got on the ground is so many different segments for buyers to object. I just listed out, 10? 8? I don't know. But they're such big ticket items that just housing cost alone. Cost of living in California, because you've gone down all of these avenues. How about the refinery situation where you've got a couple of refineries leaving state of California? And I didn't even talk about, the train to nowhere, the 220 mile an hour train to nowhere. Another just massive debacle. Now, I'm not saying that Greg Abbott could step in and make that happen, but I think somebody else would just have a better shot at general leadership skills than Gruesome Newsome. I think Newsom has proven that he doesn't have the kind of leadership style. And Karen Bass is right there with him. I think Karen Bass is basically, she's just ill-equipped for her job at running a city the size of Los Angeles. You need somebody to drop the hammer. But you've got constituent base in California. It's just like some areas of Chicago that just keep voting blue, keep voting blue, keep voting blue. It's like Oakland voting for yet another progressive. Just keep voting blue. It's going to get better at some point in time. When? Don't know. The rest of the country looks in at a California, at a Gavin Newsom, and goes, oh, no, we don't like that. We don't want that in our state. Oh, yeah. No, thanks. And on the national level, oh, good Lord. Look at the cost of housing. You can make over $110,000 in number of counties in California and still qualify for low-income housing. All of those things stacked up on top of each other. And you got a dog. He's a dog of a candidate. I don't think he can overcome all of these objections. I just don't. Over half the country in the last election said no to Kamala Harris, and crazy tampon Tim boy with his waving hands and doesn't really know what he's talking about. Can't believe that guy's a football coach. How's that work? You know what I mean? Oh, boys need tampons in their restrooms, in their locker rooms. Tampons for all boys. And you're left with, you coach football? That's not how we do football in Bellevue. Let's just put it that way. No. Just got through going to my nephew. It's actually my cousin's kid. His graduation at Bellevue High School, and one of their stats was in the 4 years they went to school there, they had 2 state football titles. There's one kid, a big black kid. There's always a big black kid at Bellevue that's going to go play football. We've got a number of NFL players from Bellevue right now in the NFL. Buda Baker being one. He was in my son's class. And you've got kids that graduated today that look like they're 25 years old. 6'3", 6'4", 300 pounds. I don't know. They're enormous, especially compared to a bunch of other normal high school looking kids. But Bellevue High School has a football program. Tim Waltz, tampons for boys. Yeah, that's what I'm going to leave you with today. All right. That's it for me on this one. Thanks so much for being here. Yeah, I know this was kind of a here, there, and everywhere, but that is what is going to be impacting Gavin Newsom's chances. And I think he is the front runner for president in 2028. And that's why we're running through these things, because there are obvious reasons as to why not to vote for podcaster Newsom. Thanks again for being here. Love to have you subscribe, do all that good stuff, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye for now.